Jerry Hannah.
Let's hope this works. I have two poems to read. First one is called What I See. Early in the morning, I peer out my window, looking for a sign, some moment of my day, and I can see far across the estuary something making a mark on the surface of the water. But what about beneath? I get out my glasses, the ones that will let me see much farther than my own, examine each detail as if I was omniscient. Oh, to have the eyes of God, instead of this illusion limited by the length of my arms. In the distance, 3 ducks in a line are motoring toward the marshes. Their wake, a sure sign it will rain. The second one is called Notes from a Diary. We have come a long way through the hours, night into day, day into night, watching the sun. Each start new in the morning, dim under the stars. We seek a fresh spot by the river, but the fish dry up or flood away. Berries in the field and flowers wilt under the sun. The mountain turns to rock, makes the air hard to find. The desert is forbidding, all black, all white, no compromise. All the time we are uncertain. Mistake the signs for our star. Go north, struggle in our journey, push on in the changing weather. Seek woods in a dying light, hide in the pines. We wrap around each other, arm over leg in the darkness, like bears in a snowbank, waiting for spring when we can start out again over the ice, looking for open water, longing for home, still looking, even at mid-age.
Paul Dyer.
I don't get much news, but I saw an article on the internet about that it kind of inspired. Well, you can blame this piece on the article that I read on the internet about the excruciatingly slow reels of justice in the land down under. It's called Little Dog. Oak Creek Canyon, north of Sedona. A sign said, "Scenic overlook." Good place for a rest stop before the upcoming hairpin turns I knew would terrify her, and we neglected to pack adult nappies. All forgotten as I turned into the parking lot and spotted the little dog. I angled hard to try and prevent Susan from seeing it. Luckily, she was preoccupied with a sandwich. "Right back," I said, and reached surreptitiously into the back seat for my bush hat. I approached a woman sitting on the stone wall and pointed at her dog. "Is it?" I asked. "Yes," she rolled her eyes. "May I?" She sighed. "If you must." Just then, a scream of "No!" and Susan bolted from the car, sandwich scattering across the asphalt. She reached me in a second and yanked back on the hat. With the rawhide cord biting into my larynx, I was still able to speak the words. "The dingo ate my baby." Susan slapped me with the hat and walked away, muttering, "Vacation ruined." Of course, she knew what was coming. I stand before you freely admitting that I have a problem, an affliction, a syndrome. Destined to repeat certain lines for weeks, months, okay, occasionally years. Possibly in the case of the dingo with a Crocodile Dundee Film Fest thrown in. Susan had a name for it. Obsessive repulsive. Best then that she didn't know me in its earliest manifestation. When years earlier I moved to East Haven, Connecticut, and discovered the little shop at 349 Main Street. On their sign, above cross fishing poles, the words which I would be tragically helpless not to repeat. In order to prevent an outbreak of said affliction, I must spell the first word. M-A-S-T-E-R, bait and tackle.
Tom Richardson.
Why do I always have to follow these people? Last time it was Faye Jacobs.
You can do it.
I
know.
I'll do it again.
He is good.
That's how it works. This piece is called Wacky Signs, aka does anyone ever read this stuff before they publish it? I've collected wacky signs over the years. Some I've saved as pictures, and some are just permanently printed in my mind. I'll share just two with you here. The first I received when I was the director of some human resources training. It was a flyer I could use as a sign on our bulletin board. In bold letters, it advertised, "A guide to sexual harassment in the workplace." My mind immediately went into overdrive. Were these people nuts? Were they really offering a how-to book to help a company add sexual harassment in the workplace? I envisioned chapter titles like "A Tryst at the Water Cooler," 50 dirty jokes for your next staff meeting, and "An office affair to remember." Second, and probably my favorite sign of all, is one I discovered in a shop in Newark, Delaware. I was window gazing while waiting to meet friends. As I passed a clothing store, my eyes nearly jumped out of their sockets. There in front of me was the greatest and best for my collection. I knew I had to purchase this baby and not just keep it in my mind or take a picture of it. In bold hand lettering for all of Newark to appreciate, it said, "Irregular bottoms, $5." I immediately thought of folks with deformed butts. But beyond that, I couldn't come up with an idea as to what it meant. I immediately went in and asked if I could purchase the sign. The clerk asked if I wanted any irregular bottoms. "No thanks," I said. "I just want to buy the sign." "What sign?" "The irregular bottom sign." "Huh?" If this guy was a student at UDEL, he probably wasn't on the dean's list. "You don't need any irregular bottoms?" Somewhere along this conversation, I realized we were talking about clothing and said, "No thanks. I don't think my fairly regular bottom will fit into your irregular bottoms. Look, I just want to buy the sign." I won't bore you with more of this inane dialogue, but I will let you know that I finally purchased the sign for $4 and gave it to our son, who found a prominent place for it in his dorm room.
He's very
Crystal Heidel.
Okay, I just want to set this up. This is from my novel that I'm writing. It's the first chapter, part of it. And my character, Francesca, has psychic dreams, so she's just woken from one. Francesca Monroe's eyes snapped open to blackness. She blinked, adjusting to the dimly lit bedroom. Her breath came in short, heavy pants. Damp hair clung to her collarbone, along her shoulder. Swallowing was difficult because her throat was bone dry. She tried to calm the thundering in her head, but her fingers and arms trembled against the dampened sheets. You've had worse dreams, she told herself, but not being able to move? And you've never been dressed in one of these dreams. He called you Melissa, and the dripping, it's a dream, she scolded herself. Dreams come from your subconscious. It's nothing. She focused on the paddle fan, whirling gently in a cadence of blades and shadows, casting patterns on the ceiling. She took a deep breath, then another. It just felt so real, she thought, listening to the night, the hum of her air conditioner, her noisy dog snoring at the end of her bed, and faintly, the telltale drip of the downstairs faucet that wouldn't stop leaking. A breeze rustled the curtains of the window above her, bringing the echo of insects and owls and the weak scent of marsh. She twisted around to look at her clock that sat next to a 13-year-old photograph of her and her sisters. The last photo taken of the three of them. It was just a quick shot before Caitlin went off to New York. Abby annoyed, Caitlin grinning, and frenzy sandwiched between them. She shook distant memories away, focused on the glowing numbers, 343. With a shaky hand, she brushed away damp strands of hair. Her body was drying from the barely there air conditioning and soft breeze. The sheets stuck to her back as she rose. Tears burned her eyes. What's wrong with you? You're fine. You're not dead. But someone was, she thought. Someone named Melissa.